Hey people, praise the Lord. My beautiful blessed souls, I hope all is well. Hope you spend some time with the Lord today and every day. Get your little praise and worship on. I know folks went to church. It's a little late. I'm trying to get in here. I had to do my laundry, get ready for my work week tomorrow. And I got a few appointments. So, in here trying to get this word out. I did put one out. I think the one from yesterday, and then I did my little what was it? Just showing kind of balance, because we're gonna see how this, because the word of today was balance. It flowed so wonderfully because yesterday I went out. I took myself out. From time to time, I'll do that. It's a necessity that you take care of yourself inside and out. It is a necessity. Do not neglect yourself. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. I don't care if you are alone. You have to. God did not create us to be alone, but we have to learn how to be alone, And that's just that. And in communion with Him and whatever else is, with the tune with the world, with Him, with just life. So balance. And that's what this one is, August 16th. Balance, people. And I've been searching for balance, because I used to put myself last with everything. And now I tell people I had my children early, and I thought that was a curse. But, actuality for me was a blessing, because now I can see myself being alone and being okay with being alone, because I done married, I done took care of everyone else, homes, cars, kids, houses, everything. So now that it's just me, and I had to learn as an empty nester how to do that. Finding myself, what I like, what I don't like at this age, because it's different from when I was younger. Things have totally changed, but it's a beautiful thing. And balance is the key. So this is where we are. So, and we're going to see how 2 Samuel chapter 3, because that's where we are. And we're going to go into that as well. So balance. The months ahead look very busy. How can I keep a good balance, right? Because you don't want to be too busy. You don't want to be just doing stuff to be doing stuff. But you want to be working, doing something. You can't just sit around doing nothing. So Jesus did not heal every sick person. He did not heal every sick person in the land or convince every person to follow him. Peep that. When we watch how Jesus moved, we need to pay attention. Or meet every person he could have if he had lived longer. So he didn't heal everybody. He didn't try to meet everybody. He didn't try to convince everybody. You see what I'm saying? And this is how we got to be. Because when we walking like Christ, this is what it's going to look like. So, and yet, he said he did everything God told him to do. What does that mean? God does not ask you to do everything. Peep that. Remember that. Put that in your day planner. God does not call you to every people, place, and thing. Please pay attention. Every battle, no. And we're going to look at this. This is what this is. So, this is how we get overwhelmed, get into stuff. We're doing more than we need to be doing, fighting battles we don't need to, overstressing ourselves over all of this. This is how we do this. So, just everything he has called him to do. So this is what it is. He didn't do everything. He did everything God told him to do. But God does not ask you to do everything. Just everything he has called you to do. Your assignment. Focus on your purpose. Your assignment. What you're here to do. Nobody else. A balanced life honors God. It honors God, it honors others and yourself by the way that you use your gifts, your talents, your time, and other resources. So peep that. Jesus Christ walked the earth. Did he heal everybody? Did he change things the way people thought? No, he did not. And a lot of it was in people was looking for the natural stuff, And he did some of that, But it's not all about that. It is a spiritual thing. So God's response to this in Ecclesiastes 3:1. There's a time for everything. I remember that. And a season for everything. Every activity under the heaven. So, remember, seed time, harvest. There's a time, there's a season in your life and everything. Pay attention. And I believe I went through those in a couple of videos. I don't even know how long ago that was, but you can go back and look at that as well. John 17:4-5. I brought glory to you here on earth by doing everything you told me to do. And now, Father, bring me into the glory that we shared before the world began. So, Jesus didn't come to do everything because it's not his task to do everything. He was brought here specifically to do what he was called to do and nothing else. Why? Because other people are called to do those things. Booyah, peep it. So you're not, and this is why I tell people, when you are working in partnership, it makes light of the work. God didn't call you to do everything. He didn't call you to control everything. He didn't call you to be everything. No. That is not your task. Do what God called you to do, your gifts, your talents, your purpose. Stay in your lane, your positioning, and let everybody else do what they're supposed to do. See? Booyah. Makes a lot of sense. Now, James, what is it, James 3:13. If you are wise and understand God's ways, live a life of steady goodness. Exactly. So that only good deeds will pour forth and you don't brag about the good that you do. Then you will be truly wise. So folks, we run around talking about what they do. Like I said, I do things in secret. I don't let people know what I do. You may think I do nothing. Sometimes I do nothing. Sometimes I'm doing something. It just depends. But I don't want to, because it's not for me, it's for God, and He openly rewards people who do things secretly and in private. So if I do things for people, I don't want people to know. I do them in secret. It is not, to put people's business out there. So we're going to look at this word. We are going to get into this. And we're going to see how all of this ties. This is why I put up the other day, that I went out and I ate. Because although I'm living the life of Christ, I still, even though I'm single and all these other things, well, I'm not single, I'm married, but I'm so, I still, have to have a life that I'm living here. Like I said, I have things that I have that I'm trying to do with my own personal life, but I can't get caught all the way up with that either. Because there's things that God put me here to specifically do. So I have to make time for those things that God specifically put me here to do. Now, God understands that I have a life and I have to live here and be here, but He doesn't want me to neglect the things He specifically brought me here to do. Exactly. So let's look at this. Now, 2 Samuel chapter 3. There was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. And David grew stronger and stronger while the house of Saul became weaker and weaker. And sons were born to David at Hebron. His firstborn was Ammon of Ahinoam of Jezreel. And his second was Chileab of Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. And the third was Absalom. Absalom is going to be something we're going to see. The son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. And the fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith. And the fifth, Shephatai, the son of Abital. And the sixth, Ithream of Eglah, David's wives. These were born to David in Hebron. Now, while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, Abner was making himself strong in the house of Saul. So now Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, "Why have you gone into my father's concubine?" Now remember, this is the same thing that Reuben had did. Was it to Joseph? Jacob, I think it was Jacob. And remember, Jacob cursed him because of this. Because he slept with a woman that he had for himself. You don't do this. You see what I'm saying? So now, and this is why the birthright and a lot of stuff was given to Joseph. Although he was the oldest, it wasn't given to him. Now, so this is another disrespect, And when we look at it even now, it's still disrespectful. So then Abner was very angry over the words of Ishbosheth. And he said, "Am I a dog ahead of Judah? Am I a dog's head of Judah? Okay, am I a dog's head of Judah?" So he's trying to be funny, right? Because remember, Judah is considered the lion. So he's asking, is he the dog's head of Judah? So to this day, I keep showing steadfast love to the house of Saul, your father, to his brothers and to his friends, and have not given you into the hand of David. But that's a lie, because secretly, if you're doing these type of things, yes, you are dog's head, because you're not honoring and respecting, what's going on. And when you see that people's actions are not what their words say, that lets you know a lot, because you could say one thing that you're honoring them, but secretly you're deceiving them. And this is where the frenemy, things come. But see, we can tell he already has his own agenda. This is why he already put this boy who's already a relative of Saul, so he has the rightful bloodline. But see, he wants to use that to his advantage. He's only put him in this position not to help them, but so that he can puppet him, meaning he can manipulate him and tell him, so he's going to run the crown, run the kingdom from the side, meaning have him there because he's the rightful one, but he knows he don't know what he's doing, so he's going to be running it by telling him what to do. And we see this happen from time to time in our lives, and we look at it with our family and friends, our in-laws, whatever. We see how people can be very manipulative from the sidelines, telling folks what to do, how to run their lives, all this from the sidelines. Now, it's one thing if it's to actually help, but it's another thing if this is the motive because he wants to be in control. So you got to pay attention. So now, let's do it. So what happened was, he said, should he not have turned him to David? Said, and yet you charge me today with the fault concerning the woman, right? Because he doesn't want to acknowledge the wrong he's doing, okay? Because he wants to play in people's face. That's what they call it. But that means you're sitting here acting like you're doing nothing when all actuality, you're actually, every time we do, you're behind the scenes doing a lot that you shouldn't be doing. That's underhanded, evil, wicked, that's in actual defiance or opposition, exploitation, oppression of the actual kids, them and their tribe, the people you claim to love. So God do so to Abner and more. Also, if I do not accomplish for David what the Lord has sworn to him. So now you see how this is going. So to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan to Beersheba. And Ishbosheth could not answer Abner another word because he feared him. So he's trying to manipulate him. He's trying to twist the words. He's trying to throw things back at him because he doesn't want to take the responsibility. So we see that right there. So now Abner sent messengers to David on his behalf, saying, to whom does the land belong? Make a covenant with me, and behold, my hand shall be with you to bring over all Israel to you. See, he wants things done under his, way of doing things. It's not about God. It's not about none of that. It's not about Israel. It's not about David. He wants to be in charge. He wants to control. He wants people to bow down to him. He wants them to, have this power because this is what he wants. He's on the side. God never gave it to him. This is what he's doing. And he said, good, I will make a covenant with you. But one thing I require of you is that you shall not see my face unless you first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when you come to see my face. Then David sent messages to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, give me my wife Michal, for whom I paid the bridal price of 100 foreskins of the Philistines. Remember, that was the one that when he went and got the 200 instead of the 100, because that's what Saul sent him to do. So what he did was he outdid with Saul, because Saul did that as a trap. So he outdid that because, God always do more. You know what I'm saying? So when they folks think they setting you up for the downfall, they waiting for you not to do what they set you up to do, to fail at it intentionally. But then what God does is he turn around and he not only do that, but he do give you more than what they thought. You know what I'm saying? So while they thought you weren't going to be nothing, weren't going to have nothing, weren't going to be able to do it, not only does the 100, he brought back 200. So this was a slap in Saul's face. This made Saul even mad. And a lot of times this will make folks mad because when they set in traps and they see that you're not falling into these ditches and traps and snares, they get very upset. Because when you're doing better and you're overcoming that and then excelling, and it pisses them off. It really pisses them off. Especially when it's you. Because anybody else could do anything except for you. And don't let that fall over your head either, folks. Don't mind everybody getting blessed as long as it's not you. And a lot of times that's the reason. But anyway, so we're going to look at this. So and Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, Paltiel, the son of Laish. But her husband went with her, weeping after her all the way to Bahurim. Then Abner said to him, go return, and he returned. And Abner conferred with the elders of Israel, saying, for some time past you have been seeking David as king over you. Right? Now then bring it about, for the Lord has promised David, saying, by the hand of my servant David, I will save my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines. Now see, all of this is also, kind of getting in the way of God doing what he got to do too. Now God's going to use it, but this is what, the stagnation, backwards delays, this is what folks will do to have you, if you want to make a move, you want to do this, you want to do, they want to prolong it. They want you to leave on their terms or when they feel like it, not when you're ready to go. They want to do all this extra to get in your way, to block you, to make you go backwards, to stop you, but they can't stop God's plan. God's plan is going to be fulfilled regardless of what. So we're going to see. So By the hand of my servant David, I will say my people, and from the hand of the enemies, Abner also spoke to Benjamin. And then Abner went to tell David at Hebron that Israel and the whole house of Benjamin thought good to do so. So, okay, this is where we at. Now remember, the tribe Benjamin is where Saul came from. So those are Saul people. So when Abner came with 20 men to David at Hebron, David made a feast for Abner and the 2 men who were with him. Well, and the men who were with him. And Abner said to David, I will arise and go and will gather all Israel to my lord the king, that they may make a covenant with you, and that you may reign over all that your heart desires. So David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. So now, let's see how this is going to go, because, folks be playing, those back and forth positions. They on this side, they on that side, They be, playing both sides of the field. So we got to look at what's going on. Pay attention, They love that tennis game, the back and forth, But when I tell folks, all you got to do is stop playing. Once you stop playing, the game's over. You keep going back and forth, it's going to continue. You hit the ball over there, they're going to hit it back. You hit it. See? But the moment you stop playing, the game's over. That's the best thing I do, honey. Just then, the servants of David arrived with Joab from raid, bringing much spoil with them. But Abner was not with David at Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. Now, when Joab and all the army that was with him came, it was told to Joab, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he has let him go, meaning David, and he has gone in peace, meaning they were at war. So then Joab went to the king and said, what have you done? Remember, he killed his brother. Behold, Abner came to you. Why is it that you have sent him away? Meaning allow him to live, so that he is gone. So you know that Abner, the son of Ner, came to deceive you and to know your goings and comings in and to know all that you are doing. Now, this could be exactly what is going on, because what better way of figuring out than to monitor people? And this is what they talk about, monitoring spirits. People like to monitor you, don't say nothing, don't clap for you, but they always in your business, can't stand you, act like they don't see you, don't want. That's monitoring spirits. They just watching your life, because for whatever reason, it's like they just want to monitor you. And a lot of times it's not for good, because they want to see if you're going to do well or not. They really don't want you to, but if you do, they want to be paying attention, always taking notes as to what you got going on. So, and Satan uses them, because who else, right? So, and when Joab came out from David's presence, he sent messages after Abner, and they brought him back from the cistern of Sirah. But David did not know about it. And when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside into the midst of the gate to speak with him privately. And there he struck him in the stomach, so that he died for the blood of Ashiel, his brother. So he killed him, because remember, he killed his brother. So afterward, when David heard of it, he said, I and my kingdom are forever guiltless before the Lord for the blood of Abner. Why? Because he didn't authorize it. And for the son of Ner. May it fall upon the head of Joab and upon all his father's house. So this is like a curse. And, well, it is. And may the house of Joab never be without one who has discharge, or who is leprous, or who holds a spindle, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks bread. So see, you can be cursed by folks saying stuff, but see, David has authority. So David can speak stuff and it comes to pass, because for whatever reason, God has given him this, ability. So when he speaks this, because God backs him, it's going to happen. It's going to be so. So this is what he's saying to Joab. Why? Because he went outside of David and God. He did something that neither one of them approved, and it looked like it was David who did it, because he's one of David's people. That's not good. The insinuating, trying to make people think that he's, a part of that. That's why he made it clear, me and my kingdom, this is not what I stand for. This is not what I issued him to do. I didn't tell him to do this. He did this on his own. So you got to pay attention. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, killed Abner because he had put their brother Ashiel to death in the battle at Gibeon. Now, see, David knew all of this, but David still was not with the eye for an eye. He still was not going to allow him to do that, because David has the wisdom to know that unless God tells him to do these things, he's not supposed to do it. So being that he's under David, that could fall up under David as far as, handling it. So this is how he handles it. So then David said to Joab and to all the people who were with him, tear your clothes and put on your sackcloth and mourn before Abner, right? Mourn their deaths, because you took their lives. And King David followed the bier They buried Abner in Hebron, and the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. And the king lamented for Abner, saying, should Abner die as a fool dies? So your hands were not bound, your feet were not fettered. As one falls before the wicked, you have fallen. And all the people wept again over him. And I'm like, they, crying over their enemies, the ones and we're going to see, because remember, God uses your enemies. You still have to love them, whatever. He uses them to accelerate you. And I'm trying to figure out what David's mindset, and I'm assuming this is what it is. So when I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it and I'm seeing the text, I'm like, okay, so this is what God is saying. This is what happened. This is what's going on. So now, then all the people came to persuade David to eat bread while it was yet day. But David swore, saying, God, do so to me and more also, if I taste bread or anything else until the sun goes down. So he's on this fast in the morning. And all the people took notice of it and pleased them, as everything that the king did pleased all the people. Why? Because he's the head, and if he's doing it, it is respected, his position, his role. So all the people in all Israel understood that day that it had not been the king's will exactly to put to death to Abner the son of Ner. This is what this is about. And the king said to his servants, do you not know that the prince, a great man, has fallen this day in Israel? And I was gentle today, though anointed king. These men, the sons of Zeruiah, are more severe than I. The Lord repay the evildoer according to his wickedness. And this is why no matter who does what, the wickedness will still befall you. Why? The consequences. As a believer, it doesn't take away from non-believers or believers alike. So if let's say they do something to you, you do something to them, it's still going to be the same, outcome. So we got to pay attention to this. Unless God gives the okay and tells you to actually, do this type of things, this is what this is. So now we're going to break it down. So 2 Samuel chapter 3 details the end of an unfortunate civil war. Shortly after Saul died, the men of Judah made David their king. 5 years later, Saul's cousin and former general Abner crowned Saul's son Ishbosheth king over the remaining tribes. Abner and the army of Israel met David's military commander Joab and his army in Gibeon. What began as a limited duel ended in a fierce battle. Things might have ended there, but Abner killed Joab's younger brother in self-defense. The battle is now a 2-year civil war driven by vengeance upon vengeance. So, the internal battle dividing Israel continues. The house of David and Saul battle each other for control of the unified throne of Israel. Though David is king over only of Judah in the south, he is steadily growing stronger as Ishbosheth in the north grows weaker. So now, one way David's house is growing strong is by adding many sons, each of which could one day take the throne of Israel after him. This is why it's so important to have men and not to have men walking around in feminine clothing, because when it's time to stand up and fight, to have children, make babies, this is what God intended. Not two men, not men acting like women. No. When David was first made king, he had 2 wives. As he adds wives and has more potential heirs, his impact will continue to grow. So now, though Abner is losing the war, he's growing more powerful in Ishbosheth's kingdom. Abner goes as far as to sleep with one of Saul's concubines. Remember, Saul is dead, but he was a former king. An act of dominance. This is, like he's, taking, respect, or, the heck with the king, he's there, When Ishbosheth, the son, because that was his father's concubine, confronts him, Abner flies into a rage. How dare Ishbosheth challenge him after all that he has done for the house of Saul? He declares that he has changed his mind and now will help David to become king over all of Israel. So now he's, so-called traded, meaning he's going to help David now because of what the son said. Abner sends messages to David to offer a covenant to make David king over all of Israel. So David responds that he is willing if Abner will bring David's first wife, Michal, back to him. Michal was Saul's daughter. Saul gave her to David in exchange for the 100 Philistine foreskins. Remember, but David, that was the battle. David returned with twice as many, so he came back with 200 foreskins. But then he still didn't give him the wife. He gave it to the other guy. After Saul tried to kill David and David fled, Saul gave Michal to another man. This was disrespect. Ishbosheth agrees to give the order, and Michal is taken from the heartbroken husband and returned to David. That was actually, I think, his first wife. Abner meets with the elders of Israel. He works to convince them to transfer support from Ishbosheth to David. Even Saul's own tribe of Benjamin agrees. So Abner arrives in Hebron and tells David all of Israel is ready to follow him. David throws a feast in Abner's honor and sends him away to bring the leaders of Israel to Hebron to crown David king. So he's playing both sides, as you can see. Shortly after Abner leaves the city, Joab, the commander of David's army, returns from raid with his men. When Joab learns that David made an agreement with Abner and held a feast for him, he confronts the king. He confronts David. Joab angrily insists that Abner came to Hebron only as a spy for Ishbosheth. Could be. Everyone seems to have forgotten or does not care that Abner killed Joab's brother. This is what his beef is. He's upset. The circumstances of that killing don't matter to Joab. He's bent on revenge. So remember, vengeance is mine. So, without David knowing, Joab sends messages to bring Abner back, and Joab lures Abner in close and stabs him in the stomach, echoing Abner's slaying of Joab's brother, Ashiel. So he did to him what he did to his brother. When David learns Joab has killed Abner, he disavows the action and says he will take no responsibility for Joab's choice because he didn't send it. He didn't tell him to do that. And because he's one of David's, high up men, it makes it look like David did it. In fact, David pronounces a curse on Joab and his descendants. Exactly. The curse that was spoken. And David publicly mourns for Abner, weeping as he follows the bier of the gravesite, reciting a lament and fasting until sundown. So that's what that's about. One more death must come before peace. Two raiders who worked for Ishbosheth murdered their king in his sleep. They will bring his head to David expecting a reward, but they don't understand David's reverence for King Saul and his family. Instead of a reward, David has them executed. Only then can he be made king. So there's a lot going on. Why is he doing this? One, because they're not supposed to touch God's anointed. If David couldn't kill him, then no one else could. And we're talking about Saul, we're talking about Abner. It doesn't matter. God is still using them as tools to do whatever he's doing in our lives and David's lives and whoever's. This is how this is working. So we're going to pay attention to this. And we're going to get into it because we want to see what exactly is going on here. Okay. So the battle between Joab and Abner did not end the controversy between the two houses of Saul and David, but it is in this chapter working towards a period, meaning where they'll stop. Now here is the gradual advance of David's interests, the building up of his family, Abner's quarrel with Ishbosheth and his treaty with David, the preliminaries settled, and Abner's undertaking and attempted to bring Israel over under David's rule. Then the treacherous murder of Abner by Joab when he was carrying on this matter, and David's great concern and trouble for the death of Abner. So now let's get into it. We're going to break down a lot of what is going on. As we can see, a lot is going on. Okay, so we want to look at this from a godly perspective. God is showing us through all of the word. When we look at the word, we want to look at it. We want to see what God is trying to teach us, show us throughout the lives of his other servants, because this is what, even like Jesus' life, we're supposed to look at it and see the takeaways that we need, for our lives, the lessons they learned. All of this stuff is supposed to be paid attention to for our own journeys, because, we all live here. We're going to eventually go through certain things in life. Christ has gone through everything we will ever go through. So this is why. Wait. Okay, let me go up. I gotta go back because it's a lot. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Come on. This is a lot. Okay. Let me see. Oh, no, not that. No. Was that what I wanted? I don't think so. Wait. Okay. Let me see now. No. Okay, I was looking at some other stuff. I ain't got to that part yet. Okay, so yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, 2 Samuel chapter 3. So we're going to get into it now. It's layered, it's structured, it's prophetic, generational, it's covenant, it's emotional, it's intelligent. We're going to be aware, we're going to be spiritually sharp. We're going to look at all of these things, take them apart as we normally do. Okay, this is not just politics, it's spiritual war, it's natural wars, they're overlapping, it's lineage, authority, it's loyalty, it's destiny. All of these things are in this. So okay, it shows how God transitioned power, how he exposes motives, how he protects the Davidic covenant, even when humans are messy. So we're going to look at it now. So the chapter's core message: God is shifting the kingdom from Saul's house to David's house. And human drama cannot stop divine destiny. Now, when we look at drama, we have drama in our own life, dysfunction, chaos, whatever you want to call it, in our lives, whether it's at work, family, friends, whatever, spouses, however that looks. So this chapter reveals how power transitions spiritually, how wrong loyalties collapse, how God exposes hidden motives, right? And how David's kingdom grows even in chaos. So how lineage battles shape national destiny. So also, this is not just history, it's a blueprint for how God moves, from one season to another in our lives. And it may not be all the time. It may be in different ways, but our lives intricately, because there's no one, we got to take what we take from it in our own lives, because everybody's life is different. And we're going through different things at different times. Now, David's house versus Saul's house. David grew stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. Why? Because this is the spiritual headline of the entire chapter. When God shifts a season, strength reveals direction. What is growing is where God is. What is weakening is what God is removing. So we don't have to fight for elevation. God grows what he has chosen in his time, in his season, when it's time. This is the same pattern in our lives. Clarity growing, calling growing, spiritual intelligence growing, old environments weakening, old connections fading, old cycles losing power. David's rise will mirror our lives, at times. Now, David's children. Lineage and prophecy. This chapter lists David's sons born in Hebron. This is not random. It's lineage, establishment. Whenever God transitions, he builds legacy, not just victory. He established future generations. Why? While shifting your present. Why? Because we have to have folks in line. He multiplies what will outlive you. Exactly. Because you're not the end all be all. You just, here, you're going to be here, do what you need to, pass it on. David's sons represent fruitfulness in transition, multiplication during warfare, God building the next generation while the current one is still unstable. So even in these times where things are just chaotic, God is still working. This mirrors our lineage calling. God is building our sons' futures, our lives, and then theirs, the children, the grandchildren, even while our present feels chaotic and crazy. So Abner breaks with Ishbosheth. Abner was Saul's military commander. He kept Saul's dynasty alive. But Ishbosheth, who was his son, accuses him of betrayal, which he did. Abner snaps because he doesn't want to admit it, of course. Now, this is what happens. A leader is insecure. He's lying, doesn't want to take accountability. A dynasty is dying. His true colors coming out. A season is collapsing. His true motives. Loyalty is misplaced, and God is removing old authority. Now, Abner realizes that I'm fighting for the wrong house. This is what he's saying now because he's checked and challenged. This is the moment when people in your life will face that they supported the wrong system, they backed the wrong people, they fought against your calling, they aligned with God, what was weakening, and suddenly they switch. Not because they love you, but because God is shifting the kingdom. Meaning he's going because he knows God is in favor of David and not of them. So it's not about him, caring. He just want to be wherever opportunity is going to be. And this is how this looks in your life. So there's going to be times you're going to go through so much hell. And then when, God reestablishes you, you'll see those same old folks that's monitoring and stuff and hating and don't want you to win. And maybe those are the ones you help. Those are the same ones going to want to come back. This is what they talk about. When your past starts to want to re-enter, they want to come back. Not because of you necessarily, but because they want to be attached to you. They want to benefit. They want to, be where the blessings is going to be flowing. No. That's why God said leave them where they at. Abner switches to David. Abner goes to David and says, I will bring all Israel to you. This is huge. And when God elevates you, people who resisted you will now need you. This is how it's going to look. Former enemies become bridges. People who ignored you will seek you out. This is what we're talking about. God uses unlikely people to advance your destiny. Abner becomes the unexpected helper. He used your enemies to be your footstool. He used them to help you and bless you. This is the pattern in our lives, according. People who didn't support you before will become the ones who open the doors for you later. This is why you got to pay attention. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're God ordained doors and sometimes the enemy will send them. We got to pay attention and have discernment. Joab, jealousy, and murder. Joab kills Abner out of jealousy, revenge, insecurity, and fear of losing power. Now, whenever God is shifting us, someone will try to sabotage it. That's what we were talking about before. Someone will act out of insecurity. Someone will feel fear losing their position, meaning in your life or whatever. Someone will try to protect what God is changing, meaning they want to keep it there. They don't want it to go anywhere. This is what the stagnation, delays, backwardness, this is all of this, distractions, this is what this is. Joab represents people who act spiritual bars driven by ego, pride and ego. Could be envy, covetousness, and jealousy. People who pretend loyalty but fear of your rising. People who will kill opportunities because they feel threatened by you. This is the key. Either that you're going to do better than them, you're going to do just as good as them. They don't want you to do it. Maybe someone else. They'll support them. But Joab's sabotage cannot stop David's destiny, and this is what we need to understand. And sabotage cannot stop ours. So we don't need to worry about it. Let God handle it. In his time, we're still going to rise in spite of him. As we can see, like I said before, no one wanted to help with my son's case. Regardless of anybody doing anything, God worked it out. He made it where the case was closed anyway. Nobody can get the glory for that but God. Why? He's the one did it. In his time. And a lot of times God does that just for that reason, to show people, like, she don't need you because she got me. You ain't got to help her. You ain't got to do nothing. This is how this go. David's response. David mourns Abner publicly. He refuses to cover Joab's sin. He keeps his integrity. So this is how this look. Okay. Now, I was trying to figure out, well, he is king. He is, yeah. And when you think about it, okay, he refuses to cover Joab's sin. He does mourn Abner, and he does it publicly, even though that was his enemy and he was acting out. He was so-called trying to come back and help right the wrong. But he keeps his integrity. So we got to pay attention to our heart posture, and we're going to look at that. So now, this shows leadership maturity, emotional intelligence, prophetic restraint, and refusal to let someone else's sin stay in your calling. Now, David teaches us, don't let other people's mess pull you out of character. Don't let sabotage make you bitter. That was a good one. Don't let betrayal make you vengeful, and keep your hands clean even when others don't. And this can be a task, because initially you may not, if you may not want to do that, but God will work it in. And this is where the patience and all this is where the process and the pruning comes in. He has to take that out by letting you go through things so that that won't be the case later on down the line. So David ends the chapter by saying, these sons of Zeruiah are too hard for me, meaning their spirit is not my spirit, meaning they have hard hearts. This is your season. You're separated from people whose spirit does not match your calling. Hardened hearts towards you. There's the people who don't celebrate you. They tolerate you. Your personal prophetic takeaways. God is shifting your season. Strength is the sign. What is growing is God. What is weakening is over. The lineage is being established even in chaos. Our sons, daughters, families, futures will be built while present is being shifted. People will switch sides when God elevates us. Not because they love you, but because God is moving. They want to be where God is moving. Sabotage cannot stop your destiny. Joab's jealousy didn't stop David, and jealousy won't stop you. Keep your integrity during transition. Your character is your crown. That's why you got to pay attention to what's going on. Keep note to yourself and just, move forward. Let God show you. He'll show you. People will show you. You listen to them and what they do and how they act, you'll see. You'll know exactly when it's BS and when it's not. You are entering our David season, our David Hebron season. A season of growth, establishment, lineage building, authority rising, enemies exposing themselves, and destiny unfolding. Pay attention to this, because this is what the David Hebron season will be looking like, or what it could look like. Okay, now we're talking about balance, because you see David with the balancing. Although he is a warrior, although he's out there fighting, although he has a heart after God's own heart, he writes Psalms, all of these wonderful things. So he has a lot of different layers to himself. So we're going to look at the balance. Now, bringing the other side of the chapter, emotional, moral, and spiritual tensions that sit underneath the power shift. This is what we're looking at. Balance about showing both sides of the story, the human flaws and the divine order. Also the messy middle where God still works. So here we're going to look at the balance, right, of it all. Divine order, human flaws, destiny, dysfunction, calling, and character. Why? Because they're all there. You can't have the flowers grow without the manure. So the manure has to be there in the dirt, which is the bad soil, the feces and all of that. And then you got the good soil. And when you mix it all together, it grows the plant. So it's never going to be just a one-way situation where everything's going to be wonderful. I keep telling people, your life is not going to be a fantasy, a fairy tale. You're going to have both good and bad. Balance in the power shift. David grows stronger. Saul's house grows weaker. This is true. But the balance view is this. David's rise is not clean. Saul's fall is not simple. David is rising, but he's still in conflict. Exactly. Saul's house is falling, but it still has loyal supporters. God is shifting the kingdom, but humans are complicating it, of course, as we can see, trying to interfere. Balance means acknowledging God's will is clear. Human behavior is messy. Destiny unfolds through imperfect people. That includes us. Our life mirrors this. Our calling is rising, but the transition is not smooth. This is what this is. Because we're complicated, we have issues, and so do other people. We want them to accept us, we have to accept them. Flaws and all. Balance in David's house. David's sons are born a sign of blessing. But the balanced truth is multiple wives, not good. That creates a lot of stuff. Complex family dynamics, that's why. Seeds of future conflict, exactly. Blessing mixed with human imperfection. This is what we're seeing. David is chosen, but he is not flawless. And this is why we cannot sit here and act with every preacher, teacher, and everybody, singer, whoever, that we are flawless vessels, that we are here and that we are not going to never sin and we're not going to never do anything. That is just, no. We're always in process. Why? Process means Jesus is still working in our life, and until he come back, no matter what we do, whether we ever committed a sin or not, we were born into it, and that's that. If that's the case, we didn't need Jesus. Okay? Understand that. Balance insight. God builds legacy through imperfect vessels, and just like he's building yours, we're rising, we're growing, we're establishing lineage, but life is still complicated. Blessings and imperfection coexist at the same time. So, without good, you don't know bad. Without bad, you don't know good. Balance and Abner shift. Abner leaves Ishbosheth and goes to David. Spiritually, it's destiny. Humanly, it is messy. Yes, he's playing both sides. Balance truth. Abner is tired of being disrespected. He's the type of person, he wants to have some type of clout. You can see he wants to have something. And because he doesn't, he's just in everything, just doing all of this because he wants attention, he wants fame, he wants something. And this is what people like that go back and forth messy do. Ishbosheth is insecure. Abner's loyalty was political, not spiritual. His switch is partly God, partly ego. Abner is not a hero. He's a man with mixed motives. Exactly. Balance means seeing. God uses flawed people. People switch sides for personal reasons. Destiny moves through human drama. This is how God moves in your life too. People help you for reasons that aren't always pure. And this is what we got to pay attention to. The motives. We talk about motives, your MO, your motives. Balance in David and Abner's alliance. David welcomes Abner spiritually. Is God aligning the kingdom? Humanly, David is being strategic. Abner is seeking survival. Both men are using each other. Exactly. And sometimes this is what this is going to look like. Both men want stability. Now, balance insight. God's plan and human strategy can coexist. We're entering a season sometimes where God is aligning you, you're making wise moves. People are connecting with you. Motives are mixed. But outcome is divine and balance is recognizing both sides. And this is what we have to pay attention to. Because there's going to be this is how it's going to go. Balance in Joab's murder. Joab kills Abner. Spiritually, it's wrong. It's sabotage. It's jealousy. Exactly. That's it. Period. Plain. Humanly, Joab is grieving his brother, Esher. Joab fears losing his position. Yep. Joab sees Abner as a threat. Okay, and Joab is acting out of trauma and insecurity. This is why he's so vengeance and, revenge. Hell-bent on revenge. Balance truth. People don't sabotage you because they're evil. They sabotage you because they're wounded themselves. Whatever's inside of them, they're unhappy and they just don't like you for whatever it is that you may have in yourself that they don't have in themselves. And I've learned this. Joab is not a villain. He's a broken man reacting from pain. Balance means seeing. Sabotage comes from fear. Jealousy comes from insecurity. Betrayal comes from trauma, and people act out of their wounds. So this is what that looks like. I can't wait to get into this other stuff because I want to go into the trauma stuff. And I was thinking about it, and I had started it with the codependency, the love is a choice, and all this other stuff, but I haven't really been able to get into it the way I want to. I am eventually. Okay. Now, this helps you understand your own life. People who hurt you weren't always malicious. They were scared. Some of them didn't know. They didn't know what they were hacking out of us. But the enemy uses it. Balance in David's response. David mourns Abner and rebukes Joab. Spiritually, David shows integrity. David honors righteousness. David refuses to cover sin. So, humanly, David is frustrated. David is politically protecting himself. David is distancing himself from Joab's actions. David is managing public perception exactly because he don't want them to think that this is what he did. And this is what, when people throw you under the bus and have you looking just so terribly, this is what this looks like. And I tell people, if I've ever stood by you with anything, please don't do that to me. Because I will get away from you quick. And I have stood by people, whether they were called pedophiles, whether they had ACS cases, whether they had drugs, this, that. I have stood by people. But I saw when it was me, how fast they would throw me under the bus about any little thing, whether it was my kids, my husband, my house, my phone, whatever it was. They would throw me under the bus. They would change and switch up and turn. So just pay attention. David is righteous, but he's also strategic. Balance means seeing. David's heart is pure. David's mind is sharp. David's leadership is emotional and political. David is grieving and calculating at the same time. This is our calling, to lead with our heart, but also to think with strategy. So we have to be doing both. This is the balance to do it at the same time. Balance personal takeaways. Your rise will be blessed and messy sometimes. Destiny doesn't unfold in clean lines, not all the time. People will switch sides for divine and human reasons at times. Not everyone who helps you is pure, but God will still use them, regardless of what their motives are. Sabotage comes from wounded people, not just evil motives. Understanding this gives you peace. Your lineage is being built even while life feels chaotic. Blessing and imperfection coexist at the same time. You must lead with both integrity and strategy. David's balance needs to become your balance. God's plan moves through human trauma, not around it. It's through it. When we talk about over, around, and under, yes, he moves through it. Sometimes he doesn't deliver you from the storm. He delivers you through it, meaning allowing you to go through all of this mess to come on the other side that you did not want to go through. I promise you. He was like, Lord, why is you sabotaging my life every 5 minutes? Every time I try to do something, you are just snatching the rug out from under me. What is going on here? But God plans move through human drama, not around it. So your story is still holy, even when it is messy. Pay attention to that, because sometimes we think the messy, the devil. And he could be doing that, but God is using it. So, and that could be the reason he's using it, because you may not move or do anything if he doesn't. Because if you don't get attacked and things don't happen, you will stay where you are forever. You won't grow, you won't move. So, now I wanted to know, why honor Saul and Abner? This is a deep question. This is about, we're not pretending we're perfect. It's about understanding why God requires honor even after towards flawed people, difficult people, dangerous people. So this balance is laid. We're going to look at it. So divine order, human flaws. Okay. Why honor Saul and Abner? Divine order, human flaws, leadership dynamics, spiritual laws, and destiny protection. So this is the reason why honoring Saul protected David's destiny. Saul was jealous, insecure, violent, and unstable. He stayed trying to kill David. Yet David refused to dishonor him. Why? Because Saul was still God's anointed. Pay attention to this. No matter what Saul was doing or didn't do, he was still God's anointed. Touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. Isn't that what he said? They didn't say if he was perfect. It said, touch them not. So pay attention to that, because Saul was still God's anointed. Even though his behavior was wrong, his position was still sacred. David understood a spiritual law. You don't destroy what God hasn't removed. So if God allowed him to say that, you can't destroy it. And this is why. David paid attention to that. This is why he didn't have old dude killed either. So you don't destroy what God hasn't moved. If David had dishonored Saul, the people would see David as a rebel. Exactly, against God. David's kingship will look illegitimate. His destiny will be contaminated. His lineage would inherit rebellion. Ooh, it's a good one. He will become what he hated. Ooh, that's another good one. Honoring Saul wasn't about Saul. It was about David protecting his own future, his own bloodlines. Why? Because whatever you're doing, remember, you reap it. Honoring Saul kept David's heart clean. Saul was wrong, but David refused to let Saul's behavior corrupt his spirit. Ooh, now that's good. Honor kept David's heart from becoming bitter. Booyah, pay attention to that. If David had retaliated, insulted, humiliated, exposed, and attacked, he would have become another Saul. Honor is not agreement. Honor is a heart protection. And we got to pay attention to that, because this involves even us, our children, our families, our friends, our spouses, our parents. It still includes them as well. Honoring Saul preserved David's public witness. Israel was watching. If David dishonored Saul, the nation would fear him. Tribes would resist him. His kingship would be unstable. His leadership would look self-serving. Honor made David's rise undeniably legitimate. This is why God trusted him with the throne. Now, when we understand why people are trusted with certain things, this is why. If you don't possess these qualities and God didn't make you for this, then don't sit back and be angry about what it is that they got going on. This is why you keep your mouth and your eyes on your own paper, your own assignment, your own stuff. This is how this needs to go. Now, honoring Abner was about justice and truth. Abner was complicated. He was loyal to Saul, politically motivated, switched sides, of course, messy, not always pure, killed Joab's brother, helped Ishbosheth, then helped David, but David honored him publicly. Why? Because Abner was innocent in his death. Okay, so because he was killed the way he was killed. Joab killed him out of jealousy, insecurity, revenge, and fear of losing his power. This was a revengeance thing. David honored Abner to show justice, fairness, and show he wasn't behind the murder. Exactly, to show he wasn't a tyrant, and to show he valued righteousness. To show he wouldn't cover sin. Honoring Abner protects David's reputation. It told Israel, I am not a king who kills rivals. I am a king of justice. And see, justice, depending on who is looking at it, what eyes they're seeing it in. Because a lot of times we see in this world, justice is, oh, just go get anybody and lock them up. No, that's not justice. Justice is finding the right person that did the actual thing. Now, if you can't find anybody and you don't have the evidence, that don't mean just go find anybody. That's not justice. That's just revengeance. You see what I'm saying? And people don't understand that, but they need to. Honoring Abner was about national unity. Abner was the bridge between David and the northern tribes. If David dishonored Abner, right, the northern tribes would distrust David. The kingdom would stay divided. Civil war would continue. David's reign would be unstable. Honor was strategic and spiritual, and it brought on unity. So how you handle situations is how it's going to be. You got to walk and tiptoe sometimes and go in, investigate, see what's going on, survey it. Ask questions, and then you kind of, get things rolling. Because if not, you can be assuming, you could be coming to the wrong conclusions, all kind of things, because when we don't know the whole story, we don't know what's really going on, this is what happens. And a lot of times the enemy will use this, and he uses it against you, Now God will use it for you, but still. Honoring both men showed David's leadership authority, maturity. David honored Saul, even though he was a bad leader. Abner, he was a complicated leader. Why? Because David was becoming king, and kings must rise above personal offense. They must rise above their emotions. They must rise above revenge. They must rise above insecurity. They must rise above petty conflict. Honor is a sign of leadership and maturity. I tell people the one thing I hate is do not be petty with me. I cannot stand petty. Petty, messy. Who don't do it? I can't deal with it. When I say that, it's because I'm not a petty person, but I can be petty. Don't petty me. Honor is about position, not perfection. Saul's position was sacred. Abner's role was influential. Honor does not mean agreement, approval, admiration, trust, closeness. Honor means I recognize your role, meaning your position, your role you play in life. Even if I reject your behavior, this is the balance. And a lot of times we don't do this. We do not, especially with the parents and the children, this does not go on. I sat there, watched NBA Youngboy, not even to get in, talk badly about his mother on there, his father, whom he never met, but 3 or 4 times, is in jail. But the way he treated his mother, who took care of him, compared to the father, he has more respect for the father who did nothing than he does for the mother who did everything. This has got to stop. And we see this a lot with this new millennial age. And a lot of grown folks co-sign on this situation, and it's not good. You're sending yourself and these people straight to nowhere, because God did not say you honor only if things was good. You honor regardless. There's a certain level of respect. There's a certain level of honor you must give your parents. You must give certain people. And if you do not, you will create nothing but curses upon your life, because it says honor them in the word. Honor your mother and father that your days on this earth may be long. Please understand, if you do not, you will have more issues and problems than both, and you don't know why, and that's one of them. Personal application for you. God, honor protects your destiny. You don't dishonor people God is removing. You simply step back. Exactly. Honor keeps your heart clean. You refuse to become what hurts you. Remember, that keeps you from being bitter. This is why we have to, deal with our enemies, pray for them as well, and all these type of things. Keep our hearts from being hard and callous, being bitterness. Honor preserve your witness. People see your character and not your anger. Honor brings unity where division could grow. You stay above the drama. Now remember, you can be angry but sin not. There's a difference. Honor is strength, not weakness. It shows maturity, not submission. Honor is about you, not them. It protects your future, not their ego. Now, I wanted to learn about all these people, places, and things. I was looking into their names and what they mean. And, this one is kind of long. Okay, no, let me go back. I also wanted to go into looking into our gifts and talents, okay? Because a lot of people, we question it. And I myself was like, oh, Lord, how do you know what you're called to? How do you know, what's for you, what's not? And we got to sit down. And sometimes we have to just take a look at these things. So I question it, and I'm asking the Lord to show me, because it could be more than one area, but I just want to give you a little something to maybe help you kind of figure out, if you don't know what it is you're supposed to do, your assignment, your position, your calling. You have to ask God, of course, but okay. Let me go back. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I'm looking at my purpose, my assignment. I'm asking, well, how do we know, with different things, what is it we're supposed to be doing? Because sometimes we think we know, sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we're looking into areas, whether it's either natural or, whatever, because remember, they're mirroring each other. And we may want to go into, let's say, because if you're not, a person for children, meaning you can't go work in daycares, meaning I'm saying you have to have a heart for children, a heart for working with children in order to do that. Now, some people, they may have that as a calling. Some people may have that and it may not be a calling, but it's something that they're doing. So you got to pay attention. This is why I was saying it could be a little tricky. So, in the field, because a lot of people are trying to figure out what they want to do in their lives, and people, even at our age, like, have gone to school for so many different things, or they, they just can't really, and I was talking to, one of my, friend's sons, and we was talking about it, and the daughter, and they was kind of trying to figure it out, and they're still young, so just let them know that you may switch things several times. You may want to do this now, until you actually find, you don't really kind of get settled until you get older, and it just depends. And between the spiritual and the natural, you don't want them conflicting. You want them to coincide so that it will be balanced out. Whatever, you're doing in the natural is what God called you to do, in the spiritual, so that you will flourish. So this is what this is. So I'm just going to quickly, because I know I've been on here a long time, and this is going to help with the balance thing as well. So, and so your calling is not hidden from you. It's woven in your patterns, your pain, your gifts, and your burdens, and also your victories. So we can look at these in deep layered spiritual stuff, and we're going to look at it. Your calling shows up in what you can't ignore. Not what you like, not what you wish, but what keeps pulling on you, even when you try to walk away. Look at these things. What problems bother you more than other people? What injustices you can't tolerate? What conversations you always end up having? What people naturally come to you for? What you feel responsible for even when you didn't volunteer for it? Your calling is always tied to a burden. Samuel didn't choose to be a prophet. He was burdened by Israel's spiritual condition. Your calling is hidden inside your wounds. This is a part that most people avoid. Your deepest pain is usually the doorway to your assignment. Example, people who grew up unheard are called to teach, speak, and or lead. People who grew up in unstable situations are called to build stability for others. People who are overlooked are called to see others clearly. People who are betrayed are called to heal, protect, and or discern. People who carry too much responsibility are called to lead families, communities, and or generations. This is why. So your pain is not random. It is training. David's rejection trained him for kingship. Hannah's sorrow trained her for intercession. Samuel's loneliness trained him for prophetic clarity. Your calling is always connected to what broke you. Your calling is connected to your lineage. God doesn't call individuals, he calls bloodlines. Look at your family, what patterns repeat, what strengths run through generations, what battles every generation fights, what nobody in your family ever overcame, what your family never had but desperately needed. Your calling is usually assignment to your bloodline failed to complete. Samuel's calling corrected Eli's lineage. David's calling corrected Saul's lineage. Your calling corrects something in your lineage. Your calling is the area hell fights you the most. The enemy doesn't waste energy, time, energy, anything. Where you experience the most resistance, the most confusion, the most sabotage, the most fear, the most delay, the most spiritual warfare, that's usually the area of your calling. If you're attacked in your voice, you're called to speak. If you're attacked in your confidence, you're called to lead. If you're attacked in your relationships, you're called to heal families. If you're attacked in your finances, you are called to build wealth and or steward resources. If you're attacked in your identity, you are called to break generational curses. Your welfare, your warfare reveals your assignment. Your calling is what you do naturally without trying. Look at what flows out of you effortlessly. Encouraging, teaching, organizing, protecting, creating, leading, comforting, strategizing, discernment, wisdom, intercession, storytelling, breaking down spiritual concepts. This could be some of them. It could be, there's a long list. Your calling is always tied to your natural grace, not your forced effort. Your calling is confirmed by patterns, not moments. Stop looking for one big sign. Look for repeated themes, repeated opportunities, repeated compliments, repeated spiritual nudges, repeated dreams, repeated burdens, repeated warfare. God speaks through patterns. Samuel's calling was confirmed through repeated encounters. David's calling was confirmed through repeated victories. Your calling is confirmed through repeated patterns. Your calling aligns with what God has already been building in you. Look at your life story. What has God been shaping? What has he been pruning, meaning cutting away? What has he been strengthening? What has he been removing? What has he been protecting? Your calling is never random. It is the final form of everything God has been doing in you. Your calling has 3 layers. 1 is the natural calling, your gifts, your talents, your skills. 2, it is your soul calling, your passions, your burdens, your emotional wiring. Spiritual calling, your divine assignment, prophetic purpose, generational roles. When all these 3 align, you feel peace, clarity, momentum, confirmation, and divine timing. So now, your callings can be multi-layered, okay? Pay attention to this. Some are called to teach, to break generational patterns, to interpret scripture deeply, to build spiritual frameworks, to heal lineage wounds, to guide people through transformation, to create content that delivers revelation, to speak prophetically with clarity and authority. So your calling is usually trying to come out of you, whether you realize it or not. Your frustrations, your spiritual hunger, your desire for structure, your sensitivity to environments, your burdens for clarity, for your generational awareness, all of this positioning and pointing in the same directions. So a lot of times you can be called to be a seer, a teacher, a preacher, a dreamer. It just depends. A generational restorer, an interceder, a protector. It depends. So just pay attention. I wanted to kind of give this, to you. So people who are out there who are wondering, maybe questioning, and just take it to God, look at your life and ask him so he can headline it and put it out there for you. Your assignment, your purpose, it's all aligned for you in your life. And once you get in that, life will work so much better for you. This is what alignment is all about. It could be your identity you don't know of. This helping you with that. To your assignment, to your purpose, to your gifts and talents, your warfare, your activation. You got to listen. You got to watch for these things. And your core identity calling. This is the root of who you are spiritually. It is the root of who you are. You can be a teacher, interpreter, a healer, a prophetic guider, a restorer, a revelation giver. These are people who have discernment, wisdom. Your identity calling is not loud, it's deep. You're not called to hype, you're called to transform. Your assignment calling, this is what God wants you to do with your identity. Your assignment could be to do different things, build biblical frameworks, to have revelation, understanding, application, spiritual transformation, awakening, clarity, to help people understand who they are and why they're here, to bring order out of people's chaotic lives through wisdom and structure. A lot of these things to be educational, prophetic, all of these things, so you have to look into it. I just gave you a few. so that you can pay, attention and ask God to help you, and to continue to work on you in your life in whatever areas that you may have. Areas where you're strong at, you may have areas you're weak at. Sometimes areas you're the weakest at be the ones he wants to use. Remember, he said whoever's last is first, but only God and you will know that. So you need to get with God. You need to pay attention to the blueprint in your life, your patterns, and all the things we just discussed. And this will help you get a little balance within yourself, like as your roles, in life, as far as what you want to do with your life and all these things. Because I found that, honey, I went all over the world and back trying to figure it out and don't even understand and don't even know, because not knowing, not understanding, just the bells not going off, not seeing, not hearing, it's just like, it was just oblivious. And then I was listening and a lot was going on. I was just out there in the world. So that would, do a lot too. And here, God, you have to come up out of that, a lot of that, because that helps you hear him and understand and know what's going on in your life better. So with that being said, God will meet you where you are. Okay, please understand. You cannot think you're going to come to God and fix yourself. Fix yourself and then come. No, God has to fix you. I tell people this all the time. You cannot fix yourself. Please understand that. Just understand, accept that. When I'm going to get with God when I get it right. No, people are dropping like flies. They're leaving here each and every day. You do not have time for all that. You can't fix yourself. That's impossible. If you could, Jesus didn't have to come and die on the cross for us. Please understand it. So with that being said, get around some folks that are, with the Lord, walking with the Lord, ask God, yourself. And, then go from there. And he will help you, to bring about these things. There's other people and teachers out there that can help you as well with things. Your stuff may not always look like everybody else's. It may be different, things. You may not be in the church, but say you may be out in the street. You may be here. You may be, you see, it's not just one setup. Okay, it's not just one. It's not. It's going to be different things for different people, because different callings or different lives is going to be different. When Jesus came, he broke the mold. What they thought it was not. Jesus came and was like, listen, it could be all of this other stuff. I'm the way, the truth, and the light. But then I can come here and show you in all these different ways, because they didn't understand him, of how the kingdom is, of how he's supposed to walk and do. Foundations is wonderful. It's going to always be a foundation and rooted. But the way it will be expressed will be different. You see, with the gifts and the talents and the different callings for whatever people's called to do. So please pay attention to that. But I love you much. Be blessed in Jesus' name. We are bruised and not broken. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that it gets out. Other people can see it. Want it to be a blessing to them. Also, my Cash App link is in my bio. If you'd like to be a blessing to me, I hope you've been enjoying the content that I've been putting out. I ask God every day to help me. I ask questions so I can know for my own life, and so I can help you guys exactly figure it out. But I love you. It is not me, it's him. One plant, one waters. God gives the increase. We all have something to do. We learn and teaching whatever from each other. And this is what it is. We're supposed to be working together and not against each other. Love you much. Bruce and now broken. Be blessed in Jesus' name. Till the next one.